I've never seen the Green Hornet series. There, I said it. Actually, well, to be honest, I, of course, was most familiar with the episode of Batman where there was the crossover. I believe it was the same producer, so obviously they want to, see if they could cross-pollinate that. Unfortunately, it never really did take off. The show, actually, I think was a little more serious. The series I had seen maybe once or twice here and there, and then finally the week of the Seth Rogen movie, Sci-Fi Channel decided, hey, we show that show, did a marathon, so I got to finally see some episodes, not but 3 days before the movie came out. Well, okay, it's one of those properties that, yeah, I'm familiar with it, I think. I know kind of what it's about. I've just never seen it or read it, but, it's there. So, going into it, I only had, actually, the most exposure to it was the recent successful Dynamite comic with Kevin Smith writing and Phil Hester, Jonathan Lau doing the art, and also I think storyboarding too. The series is still going on monthly by Hester and Lau, and I highly recommend checking it out. Well, with all that said, we have the Green Hornet movie, which was like lounging around in development hell for a long time. Of course, yeah, there is the version that Kevin Smith was set to do, which turned into his comic book version. Seth Rogen got to do it with Michael Gondry Michel Gondry, right? Is it Michel?
Michel.
Michel Gondry. Directing. Seth Rogen co-writing it, as well as starring as Britt Reed in the Green Hornet, Jay Chow as Kato, and Cameron Diaz as Lenore Case, and Christopher Waltz as Chudnovsky, Edward James Olmos as Mike Oxford, and he's totally Oxford, and Tom Wilkinson as James Reed, Britt's father. Well, where do we go? I recently read an interview with Seth Rogen that he, in a way, was partly inspired for his version of Britt Reed by all these kind of rich kids you always see on E! In the tabloids, like Paris Hilton and that doofus who called Lindsay Lohan a firecrotch. Those kind of useless rich kids that think they're important, but, really, they're not any important than, those sandbags that you throw on beaches to, help the coastlines. I mean, that's kind of helpful and useful. Not so much these people. Anyway, I am thinking, yeah, I think that was partly an influence. Actually, I think we have a comedy action superhero movie that I think might be a little more complex in some ways than one might think. I think Seth Rogen is making a few commentaries of his own through this film and through the screenplay he co-wrote. There is, I think he's taking, like, pot shots at that kind of rich kid. Also, I think he's making fun of himself a little bit in this movie, as far as this egomaniac who surrounds himself with people who is more talented than he is. And also, I think he's, of course, poking fun at Green Hornet, because, let's face it, the casual observer, when asked, what's Green Hornet about? Well, it's about Kato. And so, this movie goes full on into that. Britt Reed is a useless rich kid, and much older than a rich kid. I mean, he's like, what, 30 or something like that? So he's kind of wasted his life. And James Reed has, led this newspaper in Los Angeles and really been a big icon of, the social movement. Well, he dies of a bee sting, and, by the way, nothing suspicious about that. And he finds himself kind of directionless. I mean, even though he thought, maybe he was directionless before, now he's kind of realized it. And actually, direction's an interesting topic in this film, because most of the main characters kind of have that. Kato, the man who used to work for his father, now he works for Britt, and they've actually become friends. Kato can do anything. He can build 80 supercars in a week. He's a martial arts genius. He makes coffee really well. He's a weapons expert. He can do anything, but he doesn't really do anything. He doesn't really seem to be able to put any of these uses to good use. He doesn't really do anything in a way. Even though he can do all this sort of stuff. He, in a way, is directionless. Our villain, Chudnovsky, is a older crime boss who, I guess, he is discovering that there's new blood coming up all over town, and he's sort of becoming, you know, old news, to the point where he finds it frustrating that people aren't scared of him. He's a fucking killer maniac, and he's just beside himself with, like, confusions, like, why aren't these people scared of me? Do I have to blow up this whole goddamn nightclub to scare someone? And also, there's Cameron Diaz's character, Lenore Case, who I'll get to in a minute with something. She is a woman who's, you know, in her mid-30s, applying for a temp job, but yet she knows a lot about crime solving, and actually, in a way, ends up as the mastermind unknowingly to this group. She has studied, like, criminal psychology, but yet she's just kind of, you know, not doing much herself. Well, all this gets put into high gear when Britt decides, through, like, just a goofy accident during a prank, they end up helping some people, him and Kato, and get chased by the cops. So what he does is put this idea in motion that he's actually going to be sort of a superhero. But, hey, fuck all this other stuff where we pretend we're good guys. We're going to pretend we're bad guys. So no one, you know, captures our loved ones and puts them up for ransom, or, you know, does the old kind of, hey, I'm going to kill your girlfriend or kill this subway full of people and let them drop. Fuck that shit. It's an interesting idea, and of course it's one of the main focuses of the idea of the old show. I'm not too sure if it's connected to the old radio show. I'm not sure if the radio show did that as well, but the comic does as well. I enjoyed it. I laughed a lot at this. It was one of those movies where I wasn't really sure if I was going to enjoy it going in. The trailers were kind of tricky. It's like, you know, this would go either way for me. If I had any major complaints, is maybe a little bit too much time with the setups on this new kind of life that Britt and Kato are embarking on. Maybe a little more time dedicated to Chudnovsky and Lenore Case, because thankfully, you know, being a bad guy, Christopher Waltz gets to do some stuff. Case really doesn't really get going until maybe pretty much after everything's all done. The scene where they reveal themselves to her, not that way. The way they let her in on what they've been doing, that's her best scene, frankly, and it's very funny, actually. And, you know, what's funny about that is, you know, the movie kind of should be over, it should be slowing up, and then it almost feels like it's picking up again once that scene gets going. I really would like to know what fucked up her life that, you know, if she's smart enough to really understand criminal psychology, what is she doing? Like, slumming around as a temp? I mean, what, did she have some bad divorce that just fucked her bad? I don't know. It would have been nice, it may have been nice to have maybe 10 more minutes with her to discover that. Also, Edward James Olmos, he's an excellent actor, but, you know, he really didn't have much to do in this film. It almost seems like his character is just waiting for that speech to give him, and he doesn't have that scene, so it's like, you know, come on, I got this really important thing to say, but, oh well, I guess it's not in the cut. Alright. The visuals. Gondry is an amazing director. He has done the, let's see, the Science of Sleep, and one of my favorite films, The Eternal Spotlight of the... Fuck, I always fuck that title up!
Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Fuck you, Gondry, for your fucking title. Make a great movie, and I can never get that title. It's your fault, not mine. Anyway, It's a great film. You know what it is. It's the Jim Carrey, Kate Winslet movie. They're dreaming about each other. Yeah, it's that. Yeah, that I actually might as well be the title. Anyway, let's see. What do I have here? But anything else? No, those performances are just amazing. I definitely think this is an excellent movie, and what I think is interesting is this movie has the potential to have an even better sequel. Once the ground gets going, I could easily see this having a sequel along the lines of like X-Men 2 or Spider-Man 2. Of course, yeah, I mean, yeah, it could have a sequel like, Transformers 2 or Highlander 2 or something like that, but I don't think so. I don't know. I have a good feeling about this. I think there's some potential here. I definitely recommend this film. I'm going to go with a strong 4 Ram chips. I enjoyed it a lot. My advice to you is just pull the stick out of your fanboy ass and decide, would you rather have fun or would you rather be bitchy about how this film doesn't measure up to something you've never seen before anyway? Push the button, Lindsay.